What Lonzo Thinks is a wide range of discussion where I share my unsolicited, possibly unwarranted views on everything from music, movies, sports, religion, politics, pop culture. You name it, if it's happening, I'm saying something about it at some point. Why not now? Alright, PRiNCe, Parade, released 1986 on March 31st. It was his 8th studio album, and it's 8th in my series of reviews of every PRiNCE album, every PRiNCE studio album, from the rooter to the tutor. And let's get to it. Alright, it was released on March 31st to much fanfare, following up from Around the World in a Day, and also as supporting music for the movie Under the Cherry Moon. Now, this was also a PRiNCE and the Revolution album, and actually it was the last PRiNCE and the Revolution album. So this is a significant piece of work by PRiNCE and his dynamic, great, legendary backing band. So I'll just jump right into the reviews. And what I do is I go through every song, give a brief snapshot analysis of each cut. I'll say what I think about it and move on, then give an overall grade and or analysis of the album as a piece of art. Now, first off was Christopher Tracy's Parade. Now, Christopher Tracy's Parade is a nondescript opening song. It's not really much to it. It basically just kind of introduces the album, also introduces the film, so to speak, because the album is tied in as the soundtrack to the film, so it really doesn't serve much of a purpose other than to kind of just open up the proceedings and kind of get you involved. It's not a song that I crave to listen to, and actually when I listen to the album, I'll play it, but I don't really pay much attention to it. It's not much to the song. Not saying that it's bad, it's just not much to it. Let me back up a little bit here. As far as my thoughts about interesting story, shall I say, about the release of Parade. Obviously, I'm a huge, big-time PRiNCE fan. Obviously, that's why I'm doing these reviews. On the day that it was released, I remember I was still in high school at the time, and me and my brother and one of my closest friends, Jonathan, my brother Gary, my friend Jonathan, another friend of mine, Charles Mitchell, we actually walked to the local mall to be there for when the mall opened, and the record store was Starship Records in Warner Robins, Georgia. And we went there to be there when the store opened, so we'd be one of the first people in Warner Robins to get the PRiNCE album. So we walk up there. It's probably about, well, it was far. We didn't have a car or anything, so it's about a 5-mile walk or so. It's pretty far. Anyways, we walk up there, and when we get there, as we get there to the mall, they're actually unloading the truck that delivered the album to the store. And it was funny because we were so excited, and we actually were the first people there. We were so excited to get at this music that we actually helped them unload the truck. We actually helped them unload the truck, open the first box, and pull out the first copy of Parade. And we actually bought the first. I think we were the first ones to buy the Parade album in Warner Robins, Georgia, which don't really amount to much. It's a small town, about 5 people live there, but that's still a vivid memory for me. And I recall rushing home to listen to it and listen to it over and over and over and over again. Anyways, that's my little story about Parade and how I got the very first copy, I think. Next song, New Position. Once again, New Position is, now the sound of this entire album, it's kind of hard to kind of pin down. It was something different from PRiNCE. It was more European influenced, I think, European influence than some of his previous work. And I think that's because the film was actually set in France. So I think he kind of took on that motif of it having a European type of a feel to it. So New Position, Once again, it's a nondescript song, just like Christopher Tracy's Parade. Not really a whole lot to it. It sounds good. I like the arrangement and how he delivered the song, but there really isn't a whole lot to it. And once again, it's a song that can be skipped if you want to skip it. You're not going to miss anything. It doesn't really tell you much about the album, nor does it tell you a whole lot about the film. The first song that really starts to pick up the pace of the album is a slow song, or a slow meandering type of a song, very short song, I Wonder You. And another thing, PRiNCE doesn't sing on this song. It is Wendy and Lisa. So it is a Wendy and Lisa song on the album. And I think this is the first album cut where PRiNCE does not sing, where he lets his band actually do the heavy lifting. And it's a great song. It's short. It's only like a minute and a half. It's just one verse. But it's a great song. And it kind of highlights the music that we would hear from Wendy and Lisa on their solo albums and some of the solo work moving along after they left PRiNCE and the Revolution. So I really like I Wonder You. And I like where it's placed in the film as well, because it was playing in the background during a discussion between PRiNCE and his girlfriend. So it really fit the film, and it fits the overall aesthetic of the album as well. Next up is Under the Cherry Moon, which is the title track from the film, of course. Also, it's the first song that was played that you hear when the movie opens as well. It was an instrumental in the film, whereas the lyrics are on the album. And it's a good song. It's a ballad, a slow song. It's kind of describing the plot, really, of the film, of these star-crossed lovers. So it's a good song, and I don't skip it. It's not a song that I seek out, but whenever I listen to the album, I do pay attention to it because it is good. Okay, next is Girls and Boys. Now, Girls and Boys is a fun song, probably one of the more popular songs from this album. It's really not much to it. It's a ditty, kind of a fun, like I said, a fun song where he's once again, if you've seen the film, it fits the scene that is in, and I think this was an excuse for PRiNCE to perform in the movie, because he wasn't a singer in the movie. He played a gigolo, but it kind of gave him a reason to perform. I think that might have been something that the studio wanted him to do, because he is PRiNCE. He's a singer. They wanted to have at least one scene where he actually performs a song, and this is the one. Now, of all the songs on this album, it might be my least favorite, though. I say it's my least favorite because it's so simple, and it's kind of redundant, and not that it's a bad song, just not one of my favorites. But I do listen to it, and I don't generally skip it. But it's not, once again, when I make a mixtape, Girls and Boys is not on it. Life Can Be So Nice is a nice song, no pun intended. Once again, it fits the motif of the film. If you've seen the film, you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about. It's kind of describing the jubilation that PRiNCE is feeling at a certain point of the film in his romance with his girlfriend, Mary Sharon. Venus de Milo, next up, is an instrumental. Once again, it has a distinct European feel to it as well. It's a good interlude type of a song. I play it often, especially like when I'm just kind of doing stuff around the house, whatever, and I just want to hear instrumentals. It'll be part of that mix that I put on, especially if it's a PRiNCE day. And I often mix this along with some of his Madhouse stuff or Expectation. So it's an interlude. That's all it is, really. And once again, it's if you're into PRiNCE, you'll get it, you'll like it. If you're not into PRiNCE, you can at least like the melody, and it's not anything that's gonna resonate with you, but it's not bad either. Next, Mountains. Now, Mountains is a song that I despised when I first heard it. I always skip this song when early on when I was listening to the album. After the first time I listened to it, I just did not like it. But it grew on me and grew on me and grew on me to now is one of my favorite songs on the album. I guess because it makes me think of the movie on the whole, and obviously the movie is a romantic comedy drama, and it makes me think of the sadder parts of the film. But I like the lyrics. I guess once I really listened to the song and dug into it, I appreciated it more, and now it's one of my favorite songs on this particular album, and I do put it on certain mixtapes as well. It's an acquired taste. It's not it was released as a single. It did okay, but it wasn't a major hit or anything like that. It's a good song, but it's a song that has to grow on you, I think. I'm sure I'm probably not in the minority. If you talk to Prince fans, say, hey, what do you think about Mountains? It might say, the first couple times I heard it, I didn't care for it, but it grew on me, because it definitely grew on me as well to become one of my favorites. Next up is Do You Lie, which really has, of all the songs on this particular soundtrack, it has the most distinct regional feel to it. It sounds like a song from 1950s France. I've never been to France, and I don't know what 1950s France was like, but other than stuff I've seen in the movies, but it kind of fits that feel. It's a good song, and once again, it fits the motif of the film. So it is actually a line. The title is "Do You Lie," which is a line of dialogue from the film as well. So in that regard, it serves its purpose as a soundtrack song, but it's a good song, and it has a distinctive feel to it. If you're not a Prince fan, you're probably not going to care for this song or care about it or listen to it. So it's definitely a song that you can skip unless you're a hardcore Prince fan like myself, and you get the minutia behind it. And next is Kiss, which is the biggest hit from this album. It went to #1. It was the first single released. It's a great classic Prince song, a song that everybody and their grandma have heard a billion times over. There's really not much to say about it, other than the fact that it is one hell of a song. I remember the first time I heard it, it was on the radio. This is before the album was released, of course. I heard it on the radio. I came home from school, and it was on WIBB. They played it for the first time, and I was like, what is this? So I really had to run and get near the radio and listen to it intently, because it sounded kind of like early 1980s Prince, and I really liked that about it. And as I researched the song, come to find out this was an older song that Prince had actually given away. He actually gave it to the group Maserati, which was signed and produced by Brown Mark, who was Prince's co-lead guitarist, bassist in the Revolution. And Prince didn't like the song very much, I guess, and he gave it to Maserati for their first album. And I guess Prince, after Maserati recorded the song, he heard it, and he really didn't feel much for it, so he decided to take it back and work on it. And he actually liked the changes that he made and kept the song, took it back from Maserati and put it on the album. But he did keep Maserati on the track for their backing vocals. So he basically took a hit song away from Maserati. It may not have been a hit for Maserati because they were an unknown band. They weren't that great anyway. I liked them, but they weren't great. And their version of Kiss is nowhere near as good as his, so I'm glad he took it back. Their version is not bad, but nowhere near as good as his. So it's one of Prince's most popular songs, the ones that you can still hear to this day. A lot of folks remember Julia Roberts singing it in the bathtub in Pretty Woman. So it's a song that's going to live forever, and deservedly so. It's one of Prince's better pop type radio friendly hits that continues to resonate to this day, and like I said, it's something that's gonna live on forever. Another Lover, Hole in Your Head is next, which is a great title. Not much to the song other than the fact that it has a kick-ass title. You need another lover like you need a hole in your head. And that's classic Prince, taking something as simple as that and making it into a memorable song. And it's a good song. It's something that you know, you can't really get out of your head once you hear it a couple of times because of that hook. You need another lover like you need a hole in your head, baby, baby. So that's the only thing about that song that really resonates with me is the fact that it is a great title. It's not a bad song. It's just a song. But I don't skip it. I can definitely listen to it and groove to it. And finally, we have Sometimes It Snows in April, which is the final track. It closes out the film as well. I'm not going to ruin it for you if you haven't seen the film. Well, hell, it's 2017. The film was released back in 1986. If you haven't seen it by now, you're not going to see it. So I'm going to spoil it. Prince dies at the end. So it's a very sad song, kind of depicting or wrapping up the film itself and the sad nature in which he came about his demise. Now this song is taking on new life, of course, because once Prince passed away, this is the go-to song for Prince fans when it comes to mourning his passing. Sometimes It Snows in April, and it's a fitting song. For me, it takes on even more significance because when my friend Sean Hill passed away a few weeks ago, I found out about his passing on Facebook because a friend of his posted something on his page, and he said, "Sometimes it snows in April," which, of course, for Prince fans, it equates to death. So when I saw that, that's when I was like, "Whoa, wait a minute, what's going on?" And I had to start calling people and trying to find out what happened and find out that Sean had passed away. So now this song takes on double significance for me because when I hear this song, not only do I think about Prince, I also think about Sean. So I don't know if I'll be listening to this song a whole lot in the future, but it is a good song. It's a sad song. It's not something that is not a go-to song. It's not something I say, hey, you got to go listen to unless you're feeling bad, because it's not anything that's going to uplift you. It's gonna make you feel really really blue. So now, Parade soundtrack of Under the Cherry Moon. My thoughts and analysis. As a Prince entry, this one falls pretty low on the totem pole for me. It's definitely an acquired taste. It's something that if you are a diehard Prince fan, you're going to pay attention to. But if I'm introducing someone to Prince, I'm not using this album as an introduction because I don't think they will become a fan. Other than Kiss, there's no other song on this album that has wide appeal to it. It's definitely something that you really have to kind of seek out and be in a certain type of mood to listen to. I think if the movie was better, the album would have been better, at least better received. But the film, and I'll do a review of the film later, but the film wasn't very good. As a Prince fan, it's a required listening and viewing for me. It's part of my collection. The film is, and so is the album, obviously. So I do watch the film from time to time because it's Prince. But to be objective and to be honest, it's not a good movie at all. It's definitely something that you have to try to acquire a taste for. So all in all, it's not a go-to album for me. Some tracks are go-to tracks. But once again, the only track from this album that I would just, if I gotta listen to something from Parade, it would be either Mountains or Kiss. 9 times out of 10, it would be Mountains. I Wonder You also is a strong entry from it. But I think for this to be Prince and the Revolution's last album together, it's kind of a lackluster effort, and it kind of feels that way. It feels kind of disjointed. I think if you know about Prince and how he was back then and some of the conflicts he had with the Revolution, you can kind of feel that there was something going on here. It just doesn't feel like a Prince and the Revolution album. It felt like a collection of songs that were just basically put together strictly for the film and said, what the hell, we'll just throw them into a soundtrack and release it as a studio album for me as well. But I think would have been better served at just being released as a soundtrack and not pushed as a Prince concept album per se. Just my opinion. And in that regard, I wouldn't recommend it to anyone but the staunchest Prince fans. So what do you think? Let me know. Hit me up. By the way, I love the fact that all of my subscribers and listeners take the time out to reply to me, to send me messages, emails, make comments on Facebook. I really appreciate it. As you can tell, I respond to every last one of them in some way, whether it be a thumb up, a like, a smile, or some complete thoughts. I really appreciate people taking the time out not only to listen to what I have to say, but also sharing their thoughts and their commentary, because it is very important as Prince fans that we keep our bond as strong as ever, because I liken us to Elvis fans or Michael Jackson fans or whatever. I mean just because he's no longer with us, that doesn't mean that his music isn't. So I'm glad that we're keeping his memory alive and his significance in pop culture alive by sharing our thoughts and comments. It's a small gesture, but it means a lot. So I really appreciate it. So what do you think? Hit me up, comment, subscribe, give me your comments below. Hit me up on Patreon if you want to drop some loot on me. It's always there for you. I'm on Twitter as well at what Lonzo Thinks, or you can hit me up at whatlonzothinks@gmail.com. I'm thinking I'm going to do a mailbag coming up soon, because I get a lot of email from people. So I think I'll do a mailbag to kind of responding to some of the nicer and not so nice thoughts I get from people around the world. But I do appreciate subscribers. Keep supporting me. I'll keep doing them. Try to do them more often. I'm really busy, so I try to do them as much as I possibly can. But hit me up. Let me know what you think. This is What Lonzo Thinks. Bye.